Look, I think I agree with President Trump on a lot of issues, but I think on this one I would have to disagree with him. I think he's taking it as a form as a threat of BRICS countries, as if we are threatening America, we're trying to destabilize the United States of America. It's not like that. Essentially, what is happening is that the countries of the global south are trying to be independent, are trying to grow their own economies, are trying to industrialize their own economies, and to trade amongst themselves in their own currencies, For many years we've traded in the dollars, we've neglected our own currencies, and we've used Western currencies at the expense of our own people, at the expense of our own economies, So I think this is not a threat against America, It would work well with the West if they agree to work with Africa on our terms. But it's just, I think this is just, it's just a situation of us wanting to build our own economies, and using our own currencies, So he mustn't take it as a threat or as if we want to destabilize the United States of America. Look, I think South Africa is a very key partner of BRICS. Whatever happens in BRICS is going to affect them. Whether Trump proceeds with whatever he wants to do, it will essentially affect South Africa and our economy, But I think we need to start thinking beyond what America does. We need to start being self-reliant, building our own economies, industrializing our own economies, and building homegrown goods, So I think we can't be worried about what the West is going to do, what America is going to do, because if we worry about it, we're never going to go anywhere. We're never going to grow, I think it's about time. Whether we feel the pain for 5 to 10 years, but later on we'll recover. These are form of bullying by colonial powers, to say that if you're not going to use our currency, we're going to shut you down. That's a kind of discussion we could have had 50 years ago, not now. Africa is changing. African leaders are becoming to be more radical. The youth are becoming to be more radical as well. People are beginning to ask more questions. Why are our economies like this? Why does Africa remain like this? And Africa is moving away from the West. You see what happened in Burkina Faso with Traoré, remove the French authorities. We saw in Mali how they seized gold assets of a Canadian company. So that shows you that there's this mental shift which is happening on the African continent. Diplomacy always works. Soaring at each other won't work. So I think BRICS nations should interact with the new President Donald Trump. I know he's got a good relationship with President Vladimir Putin. I've seen he's openly come out that he wants to have good relations with China. So I think a delegation from BRICS essentially must be sent to go and meet with Donald Trump to try and find common ground. But if he doesn't agree, we're not going to stop. BRICS can't stop because of one man. I think it's a global movement. It's the fastest growing bloc in the world. So I think they should just try to try and talk to the guy. I don't think he's a toxic person. I don't think he's an unfriendly force. Someone that we can try and meet each other halfway. But if he doesn't want to meet BRICS countries halfway, then there's no point. Look, I think South Africa has always maintained its position of saying we don't choose allies. We work well. I know our president works well with the West. He works well with Russia and China. But we must also not forget our historical ties that we have with Russia, from the training of our forefathers who were in the liberation struggle. To how Russia used to support us with arms and training of our freedom fighters. That's a very important part of our history we can't neglect. America at some point referred to our freedom fighters as terrorists at some point. But I think South Africa must just be brave. We must just be brave. We can't always want to please two masters. We can't always want to be seen as being the person that wants to be in the middle, because if you don't choose a side, essentially you've chosen a side. But I think this might be a blessing in disguise. To say, I think it's time that we move our trade to trade more with BRICS countries. It might be a blessing in disguise to say that I think it's time to build better relations with BRICS countries and the global South, essentially. You know, we can't always be intimidated by America. If we don't agree with them, they want to pull the plug on this, on AGOA, on this. It can't happen like that. You know, this is something that could have happened in apartheid or the few years coming to democracy, not now. I think whether it affects us, it's fine. We'll go from that. Our economy will recover eventually. But I think the fundamental thing that must be said is that we can't always be bullied by the West. We can't always agree with them. You know. So if they don't like what we're doing with BRICS, that's their baby to feed. I think our relations with the US have been very. They've been on and off for some time, you know. I think the West America has been very disappointed with how we've handled the issue in Russia, how we've maintained our relationship with Vladimir Putin. Our leaders are very loyal, you know, and especially the ANC government now, of whom many of them were trained by Russia. So it will be very unfortunate now that we must now neglect Russia because we get money from the West. It can't happen like that, you know. We have to be loyal. We must remember who was there when nobody was there. And if it means we take a knock, then we'll take it as men.